Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. So, as you guys know, this is more of a rare video from me. I don't usually talk about card game news, TCG, OCG news very often, but when it applies to the anime, or when I can at least tackle it from the perspective of an anime fan, I feel pretty good doing a video on it, because if it was just me analyzing cards and how they would affect the current decks and the current meta, you guys, there's probably 50 people making Yu-Gi-Oh! Content on YouTube that are better equipped to answer those questions and give their own opinions. But we actually got really cool news from a new set coming out, I believe in the OCG, called Duelists of Gloom. And the news is that a monster that appeared in one of the more iconic duels from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, literally almost 2 decades ago, is actually getting printed in the OCG, which is incredible. And that card, I'm sure a few of you have already seen the news, I'll link the article down below, is God Slime, or Egyptian God Slime, which is the monster that Marik fused against Yugi using, I believe it was Revival Jam and Metal Reflect Slime, which is a trap monster that has 3,000 defense points. I believe he used polymerization to fuse the monsters, and this abomination came out from it. I can never forget the very iconic image, it's a very well-known image, of Yami Marik and Yami Yugi dueling, squaring off with Yami Yugi's Obelisk behind him and the Metal Reflect Slime Obelisk behind Yami Marik. It is a very awesome image and depiction of the final battle of Battle City, one of the most famous and one of the most well-regarded arcs in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the fact that this card is actually getting printed is absolutely insane. So I'm going to go over it really quickly. I'm also going to go over some other archetypes that I would personally love to see in Duelists of Gloom. To my understanding, these are the first 3 cards that we got in this set. So I really do want to talk to you guys about what characters you think will be getting support in Duelists of Gloom. If you think it'll be one character from each series, if you think it might be a multitude of characters from each series, obviously based on the name and based on the support we have already gotten, it's probably going to be characters that are more on the antagonist villain side, obviously leading with Yami Marik. And there was another character from 5Ds, a villain who later kind of got redeemed, that we will talk about in a second. But here it is, Egyptian God Slime, a level 10 fusion monster that looks like a slime version of Obelisk the Tormentor. To fusion it, you need 1 Aqua monster and 1 level 10 water monster. Very important to note, because when I first read that, I was like, 1 level 10 water monster, and then I remembered that Metal Reflect Slime, when you do activate the trap and it becomes a monster, it is considered a water monster. I'm 99% sure. So obviously the way that Yami Marik was able to fuse it is the way that you would have to summon this monster, and its effects are pretty interesting. This card can be treated as 3 tributes for a tribute summon, and then secondly, this card cannot be destroyed by battle. Your opponent cannot target monsters you control for attacks or with card effects except Egyptian God Slime. So obviously this monster could be destroyed by a card effect, but you cannot destroy it by battle. Would be kind of tricky to destroy it by battle anyway, because it's got 3,000 attack, 3,000 defense, and of course that first effect, it is a perfect sacrificial lamb to get an Obelisk the Tormentor, a Slifer the Sky Dragon, or a Winged Dragon of Ra onto the field, which is really awesome. And obviously that's the purpose of this monster. It is a really awesome monster nonetheless, and it always just gets me so excited to see anime cards actually get printed in the game, because this is a card, guys, that literally debuted probably like 16, 17 years ago, back in the early 2000s, like 2003, 2004, if I had to guess off the top of my head. And 16 years later, all the way in 2020, who would have even known back then if Yu-Gi-Oh! Would still be going on? We are finally getting this card, and it just really, it really does bring out the nerd in me, and it's really awesome. Now, the other card that we got in Duelists of Gloom is a Meklord Emperor. It's called Machine Emperor Wisel Infinity Synchro Absorption, or Meklord Emperor Wisel Synchro Absorption, depending on, which kind of version you want to read. I always remember them as Meklords, and obviously if you're not sure, who it was in the anime. If you don't remember, maybe you didn't watch 5Ds, or maybe you're just a purely OCG, TCG fan. It was a card used by Aporia, or I should say, it was an archetype used by Aporia. And geez, I gotta be honest, for a level 1 monster, it's got 2,500 attack and 2,500 defense. Man, those are high stats for a level 1 monster. But of course, this monster cannot be normal summoned or set. It has to be special summoned by its own effect. During your opponent's turn, you can send one face-up Meklord Q control to the grave, and then special summon this from your hand. So it is a pretty cool monster to just quickly get onto the field, especially if you are running Meklords. Now, whether this makes Meklords a viable deck, I really don't know too much about Meklords. I don't know if they were at one point really good or at one point never good. I really have no idea, but it is cool to see that Aporia is going to be getting support in Duelists of Gloom. And the last card that we got is kind of a weird one that I've really had to do some thinking on, because when you see the monster that it's referencing, you would immediately think Joey Wheeler. That card is Cyber Energy Shock, which obviously depicts Jinzo on it. It is a Jinzo support card. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. If you control Jinzo, target one card on the field, destroy it. Then if it was a trap, you can apply one of these effects, negate the effects of one face-up card on the field until the end of this turn. Each Jinzo you control gains 800 attack. So most likely, if you have a Jinzo on the field, I don't think your opponent is going to be setting a trap. But if your opponent has a trap card set and you're able to summon Jinzo, your opponent is kind of screwed, because as we know, Jinzo destroys traps. You can't activate traps if Jinzo is on the field. So if you have a few trap cards and Jinzo comes out, party's over. Another fun fact about this card is actually the attack name for Jinzo. When Jinzo attacks, I'm pretty sure in the subbed version it is called Cyber Energy Shock, so the card name is definitely a reference straight from the anime. And those are the 3 cards that we have gotten so far in Duelists of Gloom. And when I see a Jinzo support card in obviously an anime-themed support series, I immediately would think Joey Wheeler, and then I'm like, well, Joey Wheeler doesn't really fit with Yami Marik and Aporia. Could it be that this is referencing Jinzo himself? Remember, Jinzo was an actual character, and GX was weird, man, but Jinzo was an actual character in GX that took the souls of dorm students to come back to life, and it was a weird episode. But Jinzo, maybe that's the Jinzo that is being referred to in this set. I'm not quite sure. If I had to pick one duelist from each series to get support in this pack, I would love for Darkness to get support. Obviously, Darkness's cards, or Fujiwara Yusuke's cards, his clear archetype and Darkness's darkness archetype, are 2 archetypes that I believe have never been printed. I don't know if Fujiwara Yusuke has any clear archetype cards printed. I don't think so, but I know for a fact Darkness has none printed. So it would be really, really cool to see both of those duelists have support in this set. They're both kind of creepy archetypes, and to see anime-exclusive archetypes of 15, 20 years actually get printed in the game would be awesome. We know it's happening with Jim Crocodile Cook. Maybe this is the year for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. 5Ds, it's obviously going to be Aporia. Maybe for Zexal, it'll be Vector. When I think Zexal, I think Vector. Or maybe it'll be Don Thousand. I know all of Don Thousand's cards. At least I'm pretty sure most of Don Thousand's cards have not been printed. So maybe it'll be Don Thousand. And then in Arc 5... who could it be in Arc 5? You think maybe Sergei would get support? Probably not. Maybe Leo Akaba. Yeah, actually, Leo Akaba. I don't believe Leo Akaba's deck, the Pendulum Governors or whatever they were called, I don't think they were printed, but you're going to have to, don't quote me on that. Definitely look that up. But Leo Akaba might be the character they choose from Arc 5. And then from Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, Spectre, Sun Avalons, Lightning, Armadas Legio, Windy, Storm Riders. There is a lot of cool characters they can choose from Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains that do not have their archetype printed. So I think this is a really, really cool opportunity to print some anime-exclusive archetypes, and I'm excited to see what other cards Duelists of Gloom bring. But obviously the main news is that a slime token of Obelisk the Tormentor, one of the most iconic moments from that duel, and I always think back to that shot of the two obelisks just confronting each other, is actually coming to the OCG and most likely the TCG. So that is really, really exciting stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoyed my kind of more weebish breakdown than you're probably used to on these new cards coming out in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. Hopefully it's a little bit of a unique perspective. And again, if you are looking for a more competitive perspective and a more competitive analysis, there are some amazing Yu-Gi tubers out there that are not called Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything that will actually be able to give you that insight you're looking for. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Panther J, Smith620, Jorge Leon, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, and Gabe G, and to my Diamond tier patrons Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, Sean, and Melinda Phantom, and to my Egyptian God tier patron Syn Cloud. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and who is a channel member. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate you all and how much you truly help me out. Thank you to everyone who is watching. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I will talk to you down below. Let me know what characters you think could appear in this set, and I hope you have an amazing day.
가슴에 내가 가나이